The overall game plan is to create a sense of absurdity and expose the deep state puppet masters, leading to a landslide victory in 2024 that unifies the nation. The Trump administration in 2024 would then adopt an aggressive posture against the deep state, knowing that the fight to defeat them will be both challenging and hard-fought.
If I was the deep state and I wanted to destroy America, I would rig the election with a puppet candidate. One that was so compromised that they would never say a word about it. I would create a false flag that allows for mail-in ballots. I would be in charge of the ballot counting machines. I would create a false flag to blame all who question the results of the election. If I was the deep state, I would prosecute anyone that went against me. I would sue and prosecute anyone that spoke up about the fraudulent election. I would use my powers to shut down all your internet businesses and bankrupt you. If I was the deep state, I would make everyone an example why you should never question a Democrat ever winning an election. I would imprison my foes. I would use my corrupt DAs and blackmailed judges to destroy you. I would make sure all crimes I ever committed never happened. I would prosecute my biggest competition. I would make sure they could never run for office ever again. If I was the deep state, I would convince everyone that Ukraine Nazis were good and women are men. If I was the deep state, I would own every politician that mattered. If I was the deep state, I would push my pedophilia ambitions on you. If I was the deep state, you'd question your sexual identity but not the medical establishment. If I was the deep state, you would fear to ever resist me. If I was the deep state, you would wish I was really the devil. If I was the deep state, I would say mission accomplished.
How deep is the swamp? Things you must know to be informed. Yes, the governor of Michigan used to work for George Soros. Yes, California Governor Gavin Newsom is Nancy Pelosi's nephew. Some of this we already knew. Yes, Adam Schiff's sister is married to one of George Soros' sons. Yes, John Kerry's daughter is married to a mullah's son in Iran. Yes, Hillary's daughter Chelsea is married to George Soros' nephew. ABC News executive producer Ian Cameron is married to Susan Rice, Obama's former national security advisor. This is long. Yes, CBS President David Rhodes is the brother of Ben Rhodes, Obama's deputy national security advisor for strategic communications. Yes, ABC News correspondent Claire Shipman is married to Jay Carney, former Obama White House press secretary. Yes, ABC News and Univision reporter Matthew Jaffe, J-A-F-F-E, is married to Katie Hogan, Obama's former deputy press secretary. Yes, ABC President Ben Sherwood is the brother of Elizabeth Sherwood, Obama's former special advisor. Yes, CNN VP Virginia Mosley is married to Tom Nides, former Hillary Clinton's deputy secretary. This is what you call a stacked deck. If you had a hunch the news media was somewhat rigged and you couldn't put your finger on it, this might help you solve the puzzle. Now you know why no one is investigated. They all have their hands in the cookie jar. You might remember James Comey, who investigated the Clinton email scandal and the Clinton Foundation and made the final decision to not recommend prosecution by the DOJ. It turns out that the Clinton Foundation was audited by the law firm DLA Piper. One of the executives there was in charge of the Clinton Foundation audit. Who was it? Peter Comey, James Comey's brother. Peter Comey held an executive position with the Washington law firm that did the audit of the Clinton Foundation in 2015. Peter Comey was officially DLA Piper's Senior Director of Real Estate Operations for the Americas. In 2015, when the Clinton Foundation scandals first broke and Hillary was preparing her presidential campaign. Not only was DLA Piper, the firm where Comey's brother worked, involved in the audit of the Clinton Foundation, but according to the foundation's donor records, DLA Piper has given between $50,000 and $100,000 to the foundation. It gets even cozier. DLA Piper executive Douglas Emhoff is taking an extended leave of absence from the firm. Who is Douglas Emhoff? He is the husband of Kamala Harris. Just a coincidence? Amazing if it is. You can't make this stuff up. Another example of the DC swamp, and it only gets worse. This family tree will make your head spin. The swamp is deep. Dominion voting machine provider, in parentheses, serves 40% of the U.S. market. It is in 30 states. The state of Texas rejected the machines. Admiral Peter Neffenger is on Biden's transition team. Neffenger was the president of the board of Smartmatic. Smartmatic, another voting machine supplier, entered into an agreement with Dominion in 2009. Smartmatic counted votes in Venezuela. Smartmatic is connected to Philippine voter fraud. Smartmatic is run by Lord Mark Mullock Brown, who works for George Soros. He and Brown are lifelong friends. Brown chairs the boards of a number of nonprofit boards, including the Open Society Foundation. Brown chairs the Center for Global Development. Sounds suspiciously like Agenda 21. Open Society, of course, is owned by George Soros. Smartmatic partnered with DLA Piper Global. Douglas C. Emhoff works at DLA Piper Global. Douglas C. Emhoff is Kamala Harris's husband. Guess who owns Dominion? Blum Capital Partners LP. Guess who is on the board for the company? Richard C. Blum. Richard C. Blum is Dianne Feinstein's husband. Nancy Pelosi's husband is also a major investor and aide to Nancy Pelosi. Nadim El-Shami was hired by Dominion Voting Systems. And it goes on and on. Dominion Voting Systems is listed on the Clinton Foundation website. Dominion Voting is listed as $25,000 to $50,000 donor to the Clinton Foundation in 2014 by the Washington Post. Georgia Governor Kemp uses Dominion Voting after Texas and Florida rejected them. Dominion has a lobbyist named Jared Thomas. Jared Thomas was Governor Brian Kemp's chief of staff and press secretary from 2012 to 2015. You must remember the Feinstein-Kavanaugh-Soros connections to understand this next information. Deborah Katz, Christine Ford's lawyer, worked for George Soros at the Open Society Foundation. Pogo is funded by Soros's Open Society Foundation. Pogo is a co-signer of the letter Dianne Feinstein presented against Kavanaugh's nomination. Kamala Harris did not prosecute One West Bank for their fraud when she had the authority. Soros owned One West Bank. Now you know why a woman who placed 7th in her state when running for president is now VP.
Everybody to keep this incredible house or building or whatever you want to call it, because there really is no name for it. It is special. And we keep it in tip-top shape. We call it sometimes tip-top shape. And it's a great, great place.